Hello watch friends, Louis from the Whole Cut here. The watch I have to show you today is an amalgamation of three classic mid-20th century watches. The legendary Rolex Datejust, the iconic Universal Geneve Polerouter, and the lesser known but equally historic Breitling Transocean. This is the Astra Cosmic Blue by American Microbrand Lorier. Yes, I know what you're thinking. How did a nitwit like me get so tasteful? The truth is, I always have been. You just didn't know it. I was immediately drawn to this watch because of its resemblance to the aforementioned Polerouter, but also to watches like the Tudor Oyster Prince 7967, notably worn by the Roger Sterling character in the TV show Mad Men, or various Rolexes sold over the years, like the Datejust 116234 Bullseye. The standard version of the Astra has a white dial, and whilst it is clearly an attractive watch, I thought the Cosmic Blue edition had that little bit of extra panache that I look for when buying a watch. Before we take a closer look at the watch itself, let's quickly go over the packaging and accessories. It comes in this relatively attractive cardboard box in a suspiciously recognisable shade of green, stamped with the Lorier logo. Inside there's a foam cushion, a nice branded watch pouch, very cool, a screwdriver for adjusting the bracelet, and a tube of polywatch with a cloth for polishing the crystal, but more on that later. You also get a personalised card, which might make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside if you like that sort of thing. It isn't the most impressive presentation, but I couldn't really care less because it's something I'll never look at again unless I come to sell the watch. Right then, let's get down to brass tacks. The watch case is a handsome mixture of sharp lines and elegant curves, with both satin and polished finishes. And at just 36mm, it is an ideal size for vintage watch lovers. The short 44mm lug-to-lug measurement makes it wear well on my small 6-inch wrist, and at 11mm thick, including the domed Hesselite crystal, it is slim enough to fit under a cuff. A lot of modern watches are overly thick and bulky, but Lorier got this one spot on. The signed screw-down crown is relatively large, but doesn't look too distracting. The screw-down caseback has a circular motif featuring the Lorier logo, but leaves room for engraving should you wish to emblazon it with a personal message. The watch is rated to 100 meters water resistant. But of course the star of the show is the dial. The blue centre sector with its crosshair pattern, along with the blue minute track with white markers, serve to emphasise the watch's party trick. The concentric circles of BGW9 Superluminova. The standard Astra with the white dial also has this feature, but one could easily be forgiven for thinking the white dial is just another polar or Arctic white dial and not something much more impressive. I think the blue dial makes the watch look slightly smaller too, which is something I appreciate even if it is just an illusion. The branding is subtle and not distracting, with just the Lorier logo and automatic below the 12 o'clock, and the stylised Astra branding above the 6. The polished hour markers sit within the loomed ring, as does the 6 o'clock date window. I'm not usually a fan of 6 o'clock date windows, but it is really well done here. The date complication is notable too because the even numerals use red font and the odd numerals black, which is another nice touch. There's dolphin hands with loom and a loomed lollipop seconds hand, which in all honesty isn't the most legible against the loomed ring, which sits beneath it. The watch comes on a 5-link bracelet, with 2 larger outer links and 3 smaller inner links. It tapers from 20mm at the lugs to 16mm at the clasp, and will fit wrists up to 8 inches. It looks fantastic with its subtle brushed satin finish. It is a bit jangly, but it articulates extremely well and it's very comfortable on the wrist. It is easy to adjust too, due to the screw links holding it together. The branded push button clasp is milled and comes with a few micro adjustment holes which should help you to get a better fit. If you fancy wearing it on leather instead, the lugs are drilled, making strap changes relatively straightforward. I'll be honest and say I much prefer quick release straps rather than drilled lugs, which I think look a little bit ugly. The movement is an automatic Miyota 9015, a reliable workhorse Japanese movement. It beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour with an accuracy rating of -10 to +30 seconds a day and a power reserve of 42 hours. It's often said that Miyota 9 series movements have loud rotors and, well, there you go. I don't find it to be too noticeable on the wrist though. The watch is priced at $499 plus shipping, which for me converted to £408 plus £29 shipping. Because I live in the UK and the authorities here love nothing more than shafting us with ever increasing taxes, I fully expect to have to pay VAT, import duties and a handling fee. Beautiful. So what's my verdict on this gorgeous watch? Well, there you go, I already let the cat out of the bag. It's a stunner. I think it may be the best watch I have seen from any micro brand, and there are a lot of good ones out there. The design is so well executed. I think a lot of the time, micro brands fail to understand that we want something that looks old school, but is still its own thing. This watch clearly takes design cues from the past, but it isn't a clone. Instead, it looks like a watch that could have been sold alongside the watches that inspired it. And I think that is the biggest compliment anyone can give to a micro brand watch. It is an homage watch in the truest sense of the word homage. Not a copy or a rip-off, but a love letter to a bygone era of watchmaking and the golden age of aviation. What you get here is something that looks vintage but is modern. No rotten movements or franken monstrosities. It isn't all good though. I know a lot of people appreciate a screw down crown, but I just find them to be a bit cumbersome and annoying. I own a lot of watches, so I like to be able to grab one, wind it and set the timing quickly. The screw down crown adds another step to the process and makes me less likely to wear it, as silly as that sounds. The crown is also a little bit bulbous, which isn't really a problem on a dive watch, but it isn't ideal on a watch that leans more dressy. A slightly smaller crown would be better. I would also ditch the drilled lugs if possible. I think they look fine on tool watches, for example, but again on dressier watches, they look a bit out of place. So, it isn't perfect, but I still think it's a real beauty overall, and I'm glad to have added it to my collection. It was announced a couple of months ago that the Universal Geneve brand is to be reborn, but we know that any potential Polerouter re-edition will be out of the reach for people like us. And in the Lorier Astra, we have a wonderful, affordable alternative. I really like what Lorier are doing right now, and I can't wait to see what they have in store next. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's all I've got time for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.